Wichita Falls, Texas, December 22nd, 1927, 11:47 p.m. You're watching a 24-year-old man knock on a boarding house door. His name is Marshall Ratliff. 3 days ago, he walked out of Huntsville prison, pardoned after serving just 1 year of an 18-year sentence for bank robbery. The door opens. Mrs. Josephine Herron, the landlady, sees Marshall standing there with 3 other men. She knows their trouble. She can smell it. But Marshall smiles, asks a simple question.
Can we borrow your Santa Claus costume?
Mrs. Herron hesitates. It's 2 days before Christmas. Why would anyone need a Santa suit at midnight? Marshall explains. They're doing a Christmas charity event for the kids, making them smile. She hands over the costume: red suit, white beard, black boots. What Mrs. Herron doesn't know is this. In exactly 14 hours, that costume will be covered in blood. Several lives would be changed forever. And her Santa suit will become evidence in the most infamous crime in Texas history. Here's what makes this insane. Marshall isn't planning a simple robbery. He's planning something that will turn an entire town into a war zone. Because in 1927 Texas, there's a bounty on bank robbers, $5,000, dead or alive. And tomorrow, when Marshall walks into that bank dressed as Santa Claus, every armed citizen in Cisco will have one thought: Christmas just became payday. Let's back up. You need to understand what Texas was in 1927. Picture this: oil boom, money everywhere, banks overflowing, 15,000 people crammed into a town built for 3,000. Cisco, Texas, a sleepy railroad stop that suddenly became a boomtown. Derricks, roughnecks, cash. And where there's cash, there are predators. In 1927, Texas banks were being robbed 3 to 4 times per day, not per week, per day. Think about that. Every single day, somewhere in Texas, men with guns walked into banks and took whatever they wanted. The Texas Bankers Association had enough. They made an announcement that would change everything. $5,000 to anyone who ends a bank robber's life during a robbery. Not arrests. Ends it. You read that right. The state of Texas put a bounty on human beings. Dead bank robbers were worth $5,000. Alive? Nothing. In today's money, that's $85,000 for pulling a trigger. Suddenly, every hardware store clerk with a rifle became a potential bounty hunter. Every farmer with a shotgun saw an opportunity. Every man who knew how to shoot was quietly hoping his bank got robbed. This is the world Marshall Ratliff is about to walk into. But here's what makes Marshall special. He's not just any criminal, he's local. Born and raised in Cisco, everyone knows his face, which means if he walks into that bank as himself, someone will recognize him in 3 seconds. The robbery ends before it starts. So Marshall comes up with what he thinks is a brilliant plan, a disguise, a costume, something nobody would ever suspect. Santa Claus, 2 days before Christmas. Kids everywhere, people shopping. Everyone's distracted by holiday cheer. Perfect timing. Perfect disguise. Except Marshall forgot one thing. Something that will turn his perfect plan into a perfect nightmare. Kids love Santa, and in a small town like Cisco, when Santa appears on the street, kids follow him. Everywhere. December 23rd, 1927, 6 a.m. Marshall sits in a stolen car with 3 other men. Let me introduce you to the crew that's about to make history. Henry Helms, career criminal, met Marshall in Huntsville. Cold eyes, quick trigger finger, the kind of man who shoots first and never asks questions. Robert Hill, the youngest, 22 years old, orphaned at 8, raised in reform school. This is his 3rd felony. He's already headed back to prison. Might as well make it count. Louis Davis, the rookie, never robbed a bank before, married, 2 kids, desperate for money. Marshall promised him big money for one job. Just one. Davis has no idea that in just 6 hours, his life will take a final, irreversible turn. The plan is simple. Drive to Cisco. Marshall puts on the Santa suit. They drop him a few blocks from the bank. He walks in. The others follow. They grab the cash, walk out, drive away. Easy money, in and out in 5 minutes. But here's what they didn't account for. The Texas Bankers Association bounty. The armed citizens. The fact that everyone in Cisco knows Marshall's voice. And most importantly, they didn't account for one woman, a mother, who's about to walk into that bank with her 6-year-old daughter at exactly the wrong moment. The car starts. They head toward Cisco. 60 miles of Texas highway between them and either freedom or death. Marshall checks his watch. 4 hours until banks open. 4 hours until he either becomes rich or becomes a corpse. He has no idea that by noon today, there will be over 200 bullet holes in that bank. That armed citizens will line the streets like it's the OK Corral. That his perfect disguise will become his death sentence. But right now, driving through the cold Texas morning, Marshall is smiling because he thinks he's thought of everything. He hasn't. December 23rd, 1927, 11:45 a.m., Cisco, Texas. The stolen car rolls into town. Christmas decorations everywhere, families shopping, kids running around. 2 days before Christmas, and the whole town feels like a Hallmark card. Marshall pulls out the Santa costume. Red suit, white beard, black belt. The other 3 men watch him change. Helms checks his gun. Hill fidgets nervously. Davis stares out the window, probably thinking about his wife and kids. They drop Marshall several blocks from the bank. The plan: he walks alone. Looks like Santa making rounds. The others drive to the alley beside the bank. Park. Wait. Marshall steps out of the car, adjusts his beard, tugs on his coat. And then it happens. The thing that will ruin everything. A little girl spots him, maybe 7 years old. She screams.
Mommy! It's Santa! Santa's here!
Other kids hear. They run over. Suddenly, Marshall has 5, 6, 8 kids following him, tugging on his coat, asking what he's bringing them for Christmas. Marshall keeps walking, doesn't respond, doesn't smile, just walks toward the bank. The kids follow all the way to the bank entrance. Picture this. You're a teller inside First National Bank. Looking out the window, you see Santa Claus walking down the street, surrounded by children, heading straight for your door. What's your first thought? Probably something like, "How nice! Santa's spreading Christmas cheer." That teller is about to have the worst day of their life. Marshall reaches the bank, opens the door. The children try to follow him inside. He turns, tells them to wait outside. Santa has business. He'll be right back. The kids wait on the sidewalk, pressed against the window, watching Santa go inside. Marshall steps into the bank, takes off his hat. The cashier smiles, says the words that will be repeated in newspapers across America.
"Hello, Santa."
Marshall doesn't smile back, because in exactly 30 seconds, 3 armed men are going to burst through that door. And this quiet Christmas morning is about to explode into violence that will shock the nation. Inside the bank, everything feels calm. Tellers sorting bills, customers handling errands. The clock on the wall shows 11:53 a.m. Marshall stands near the counter, red suit, white beard, friendly holiday smile. Just Santa doing Santa things. Then the door opens. 3 men walk in behind him. Helms, Hill, Davis. They move quickly, confidently, like they've rehearsed this moment for days. One of them raises his voice.
"Everybody, please stay where you are. This is a robbery. Stay calm and no one gets hurt."
The atmosphere shifts instantly. People freeze. Conversations stop. Paperwork drops from hands. Now pause this moment, because this is the exact second everything changes. Among the customers is a woman named Mrs. B.P. Blasingame, holding the hand of her 6-year-old daughter, Frances. They came in for a simple holiday errand. Nothing more. Frances looks around. She sees the tension on people's faces. She sees the 3 men taking control of the room. She sees her mother tense up. Then she looks at Santa. Her eyes fill with fear. and she suddenly cries out,
Mommy, are they going to hurt Santa? Why are they talking like that to Santa?
Her mother acts instantly. Instinct. No hesitation. She scoops Frances up and moves toward the side door. Fast, determined, focused only on getting her daughter out of the chaos. One of the robbers calls out to her, telling her to stay inside. But she's a mother, and she's not stopping. She pushes the door open, slips into the alley, and doesn't look back. Frances starts crying harder.
They're being mean to Santa, Mummy. Santa's in trouble.
Mrs. Blassingame runs across the empty lot behind the bank, holding her daughter tight. She reaches City Hall, bursts through the front door, and shouts for help.
There's a robbery at First National. They need assistance.
The police chief, Bit Bedford, reacts instantly. He alerts every available officer. Units start heading toward the bank, but the news spreads even faster. A bank robbery, in the middle of town, 2 days before Christmas. And Cisco is not a quiet town today. Inside the bank, Marshall is still stuffing his Santa sack with cash, completely unaware that the situation outside is escalating into something far bigger than a simple holiday heist. He thinks this is just part of the plan. He has no idea the entire town is already reacting, and that the next few minutes will change everything. Inside the bank, Marshall moves fast, grabbing cash from teller drawers, forcing someone to open the vault. He fills his Santa sack. $12,400 in cash. Another $150,000 in securities. Outside, the street is filling with armed men. Not police. Citizens, shopkeepers, farmers, clerks. All holding guns. All aiming at the bank. Chief Bedford arrives, sees the crowd, realizes this is about to become a massacre. He shouts orders. Everyone stay back. Let the police handle this. Nobody listens. That bounty is too tempting. Inside the bank, Robert Hill spots movement outside the window. Men with rifles, dozens of them. He fires a warning shot through the glass, trying to scare them away. It has the opposite effect. The armed citizens see the muzzle flash, take it as an attack, and open fire. Understand what's happening here. Over 50 armed men, firing at a building with plate glass windows, with innocent people inside. The sound is deafening, glass shattering, wood splintering, bullets ripping through walls. The robbers fire back, not aiming, just shooting blind, trying to create cover. Chief Bedford moves toward the bank, trying to restore order, trying to stop this madness. Henry Helms sees him coming, aims, fires. Chief Bedford falls. He's 51 years old, father, husband, 30 years on the force. The shooting intensifies. Someone hits another officer, George Carmichael, wounded. Inside the bank, the robbers realize they're trapped. Can't go out the front, can't stay inside. They're sitting ducks. Marshall makes a decision. They'll use hostages, human shields. Force their way to the car. They grab 2 young women working as tellers, Emma May and Laverne. Terrified, begging for their lives. Marshall pushes them toward the side door, the one facing the alley where their car is parked. The door opens. Marshall leads the way. Santa's suit now torn and dirty, face covered in sweat. The 4 robbers and 2 hostages move into the alley, surrounded by gunfire. 200 rounds hitting the building, bricks exploding, dust everywhere. Somehow, impossibly, they reach the car. But here's where the plan falls apart completely. They're at the car, all 6 people trying to squeeze in, hostages crying, robbers shouting, bullets flying. Lewis Davis, the rookie, is hit, shoulder, then stomach. He collapses. They drag him into the car. No time for careful, just shove him in and go. Helms jumps into the driver's seat, turns the key. The engine starts. Relief floods through them. They're going to make it. The car lurches forward. 10 feet, 20 feet, then a sound every driver dreads. Pop, hiss. The car sags to one side. Flat tire. They shot out the tire, and the car only has 1 gallon of gas. They're not going to make it. Not in this car. Marshall makes another decision. They need a different car. Right now. A car approaches. An Oldsmobile. Family inside. Behind the wheel, A 14-year-old boy named Woodrow Wilson Harris. His father sits beside him, mother and grandmother in the back. Last-minute Christmas shopping. Wrong place, wrong time. The robbers force the Harris family out at gunpoint.
Everybody out! Now!
Young Woodrow steps out, hands raised. But as he exits, he does something brilliant. He takes the keys from the ignition, palms them, keeps them hidden. The robbers don't notice. They're too busy transferring everything to the Oldsmobile. The money, the hostages, Louis Davis, who's barely conscious now. Everyone's in the new car. Helms turns the key. Nothing happens. He tries again. Nothing. The realization hits. No keys. They look at young Woodrow, standing there with his family, terrified, but defiant. Helms demands the keys. Woodrow doesn't move, doesn't speak, just stands there. Behind them, the mob is coming. Armed men, hunting them, getting closer. They don't have time. Can't wait. Can't force the kid to give up keys. They make the worst decision possible. They abandon the Oldsmobile, go back to the shot-up original car, flat tire and all. But in the chaos, they leave something behind. Two things, actually. Louis Davis, unconscious. He won't survive the next few hours. And the money. The entire Santa sack, $12,400, just sitting there in the Oldsmobile. They pull away in a limping car, flat tire grinding, gas gauge near empty. Half the town chasing them with guns. This is the greatest heist that never was. They got the money, had it in their hands, and left it sitting in a stolen car because a 14-year-old kid had the courage to pocket the keys. The robbery is over in 15 minutes, 200 bullet holes in the bank, $12,000 back in police custody, but the robbers are gone, and Texas is about to launch the biggest manhunt in state history. Marshall Ratliff, Henry Helms, Robert Hill. 3 men in a destroyed car with no gas and a flat tire. They make it 5 miles before the car breaks down completely. Abandoned on the side of the road, now they're on foot. In the middle of Texas, 2 days before Christmas, and every cop in the state knows their faces. But here's what makes this hunt special. This isn't just police. This is vigilante justice with badges. That $5,000 bounty, it applies to captured robbers too. If they resist arrest, if they make any threatening move, that's payday. Posses form. Dozens of men, trucks, horses, dogs. They're not looking to arrest, they're looking to collect. For 7 days, the 3 robbers hide. In barns, in ditches, in abandoned buildings. No food, no water. A cold front moves through Texas. Freezing temperatures, sleet. They're wearing thin clothes, no coats, no shelter. December 30th, 1927. 7 days after the robbery, they're caught. All 3, separately, barely alive, hypothermic, starving. But caught alive means no bounty. The mob is disappointed. They're taken to jail, Eastland County, locked in cells. Justice served. Criminals caught. Everyone goes home. Marshall Ratliff thought he had a perfect plan. Dress as Santa, rob the bank, disappear. Instead, he created a nightmare, a legend that would be told for generations. The Santa Claus Bank Robbery, Christmas 1927, the most infamous Christmas heist in American history. And it all started with a simple question. Can I borrow your Santa suit?